welcome back to the channel and to the inside of a particularly untidy 63 Beetle. Now today's job is to look at doing something with this dashboard. This is a 10-inch Android tablet which is connected to the Megasquirt running an app called MS Droid, which is a dashboard that you can sort of customize. It's great, but for a number of reasons I want to change it. First of all, it looks a bit homemade. It's a bit too big and I can't see the top corners of it. It blocks out the fuel gauge, which is there, and it blocks out the speedo. Now this tablet doesn't have any GPS built into it. MS Droid will work a speedo, but only if it's got GPS, and obviously this hasn't, so I don't know how fast I'm going. So the solution that I've come up with is this thing. This is a Racedash from LD Performance, and it's a fully customizable, very small, neat little dashboard. And if I just move this tablet out of the way, like so, and just plonk that where it's going to go, you can see the difference. It's a much smaller, neater thing. I can, camera can't see it too well, but I can see the fuel gauge, or at least I can see when it gets less than half a tank, so that's all good. But the thing is that all these little displays here, there's a 4-digit one, 3 and a 2, and the same there, 4, 3, 2, and a big one in the middle, and then obviously the lights at the top for the rev counter. All these displays can be customized to show whatever you want them to show. So what that means is that I can get rid of a rev counter, the boost gauge, shift light, oil pressure gauge, temperature gauge. The wideband AFR gauge is actually a wideband controller as well, so that needs to stay, but it doesn't need to stay there. It can go in the glove box along with the fuel pressure gauge. And in fact that shift light, which is a nice big bright autometer one, can go in there as well, so when I'm racing I can have the glove box door open, and when I'm just driving around normally I can keep it closed. These lights across the top here will also function as a shift light because they flash when you get to a certain RPM, so that's all good, but it needs configuring, and it will also take inputs from external sensors. So at some point in the future I'm going to wire up an oil pressure switch and an oil temperature switch, or sender rather, so that I can read off the oil temperature and so on here. That'll mean I can get rid of that oil pressure gauge. All the warnings will also flash, so if it's a temperature gauge you can set a limit where it starts flashing when the temperature starts getting high, and if it's a pressure gauge you can set it so that it starts flashing when the pressure gets low. Perfect for oil pressure. What that means, I can also do away with the oil pressure light, although I'll probably leave it there, and this big part here, this big bit, will function as a speedo because I've paid a little bit extra and got the GPS module to go with this. So first things first, into the office, get the laptop fired up, connect this up to the laptop, and then I can configure it how I want it, and then we can plug it into the car and see if it actually works. So the unit comes with a plug on the back there, and the camera won't pick it up really. Oh yeah, it's not too bad. A pin out onto what these plugs actually do, and it also comes with this cable with a pre-wired plug to go on there, pre-wired for power and serial input, and in the box a load of spare pins for connecting external sensors to these things. So the first thing you need to do is, using the cable that I used to connect the Megasquirt to the laptop into the USB port, that connects to the dashboard cable, give it 12 volts and this will power up, and then there's a software that you download from the website that you use to set up what you want the different displays to read. Now I took a bit of time and had a bit of think about it, and I came up with this. So I'm going to have intake temperature, coolant temperature, oil temperature, although I don't have a sensor for that yet, so instead I'm going to have boost there for now, MPH in the middle, oil pressure, battery voltage, and RPMs at the bottom there. So it's going to be RPMs and so on. So that's the plan. Obviously I don't yet have an oil pressure switch either because the gauge in the car is a mechanical one, so I'm going to actually turn that display off for now. I can re-enable it when I've got the sensor plugged in separately. So yeah, first thing to do, fire up the software, get it connected to the computer. Right, just got a temporary 12-volt supply. There's the software for the dash controls, and there's the dash itself all plugged in. Everything's flashing and whatnot at the moment, but it needs configuring. So we go to the software for this. Now obviously I've tried this before. The software did freeze a couple of times, but it just needs restarting. So we'll start here. That's going to be intake temperature. So what you do is you go over to data from ECU, air temp, drag that across to there, and that's that done, and that's already changed. It's reading 32 because it hasn't got a sensor or any input at the moment, so that's clearly wrong. Next one down there is going to be coolant temp. So coolant temp, drag that down to there, pop. What you can do as well, if you right click on these, it gives you the option to change from centigrade to Fahrenheit. I did find that setting it in centigrade, it wasn't reading correctly, because I think there's a conflict between the way that the mega squared is set up and the way this is set up. However, leaving it on F, it reads perfectly in C for some reason, so I don't know why that is, but there we go. And then you can set a warning level in degrees C, so I'm going to set it for 95 degrees. Just quickly click on save. So next one down there is going to be, well, it's going to be oil temp eventually, but for now it's going to be boost, so I'll just put that there, boost, right click on that, and you can set it to do PSI. We're not going to have any warning, so we'll just delete that. Save again. I don't think you need to save every time, but because the software froze a couple of times, I'm just doing that just to be on the safe side. Right, that one there is going to be oil pressure, but for now I'm just going to turn it off. So get off, drag that up there, boom, and you can see it's stopped that display on there. Battery voltage, well, it's reading 12.2 from the battery behind at the moment because it's taking the signal from the battery, but I wanted to take the signal from the ECU, so I'm going to take that battery voltage and drag it down to there, and you can see now it hasn't got an input now because it's not connected to the ECU, so that's flashing 0. RPM is where RPM is where I want it to be anyway, so that's all good. Want that big one there to be GPS miles per hour, so drag that to there, and that's it. Save. Now these lights across the top here are for the RPMs, so you click on the first light, right click on it, and it says enter RPM for first LED. I'm going to put 900 in there, and then you click on the last one, enter RPM for last LED. Well, I'm going to put 6800 in there, and then if you right click on RPM, it gives you the option to put a value in for a shift light, and I'm going to put 6500 there. And that is it. Save all those. All done. Exit. And there we are. There's the dashboard all set up. Obviously it hasn't got any input from anywhere, so all the numbers that it's currently displaying are wrong. But you can see how it's flashing. It's flashing a warning because it's not showing any volts. So that's the same warning that you'll get when it gets to high temperature or low pressure or whatever. So the next thing to do now is stick it in the car and make sure it connects to the ECU and reads the various things it needs to read. Then after that I'll wire up the GPS and then see if that actually works as well. Right, so I'm back in the car, just got it very temporary wired up to that battery again, and it's connected to the, connected to the ECU via this black male-to-male crossover cable. The ECU itself is back there. So I've got quite a long cable because I need to run it along there and up into the front and then make it all nice and tidy. But for now, I just want to make sure it works. Now I'm in quite a small unit and the door's shut, so I'll start the engine, but I won't leave it running for long. So you can sort of see how long it takes for the dash to respond and start getting a signal from the ECU. So there's the key. Ready? You'll hear the fuel pump running as well. Pretty quick, eh? Let's start the engine, see what happens. Well, that works really well. Yeah, pleased with that. It responds really quickly. You could see the coolant temperature starting to climb already. It's very cold here. It was 9 degrees C when I turned it on. That's the air intake temperature, slightly a bit higher. Don't know why that is. Yeah, brilliant. So the next step now is to try and wire up that that GPS adapter and see if the speedo actually works. I'm not 100% confident about doing this, but I'm going to try it. So follow with me and we'll see if I can get it done. And here it is. This is the little GPS receiver, and it does say on there in tiny writing some letters as to what each of the wires do from the plug. But I looked this up online and got this pin out from it here. So we've got pin 1 is not relevant, pin 2 is ground, 3 is transmit, 4 is receive, 5 is 5 volts in, 6 is not used. So looking at the pin out on the back of the dashboard, if you can see that there, GPS receive, GPS transmit. Oops, got the better. Oh, that's better. GPS receive, GPS transmit, 5 volt out and ground there, which obviously correspond to this plug. The dashboard comes with a few pins, so I'm going to use those on there and plug it all in. The plan is that the unit itself will be mounted on the back of the dashboard there, because this isn't very long anyway, and then that'll go into the plug, and that should be able to see the sky and get a decent signal. I was going to stick it on with some double-sided tape, which I forgot to bring with me, so I'll have to do that later. I'll just sort of leave it dangling for now. I'll put an elastic band around there, actually that'll hold it in place. So yeah, first thing to do, put those pins on the appropriate wires there and then put them into the plug. Right, that's the GPS wired up. The unit itself is just stuck on there with a bit of tape looped over. I'll use some proper servo tape if it works. We've got the 5 volt power wired up, we've got the transmit and receive wired up. As far as I can tell, the yellow and the grey wires don't do anything, and this needs to go to earth. Now the trouble is that the earth pin here, the ground pin there, is already being used, and I don't want to de-pin that because they'll make a mess of that. So it just needs to go to the same earth that the power comes from, so it can go to the body or back to the battery terminal or whatever, so that's all fine. So the next thing to do now is stick it in the car and go for a drive, but I want to make sure that it's actually accurate as well, so I need a speedo that is accurate. So I'm going to put it in the Audi. I'll put the battery on the passenger footwell, run the power up to these leads here, and just see if it actually reads a speed, because if it works in that, it's going to work in the Beetle. Not sure I'll be able to film that though, because I'm going to go on public roads now, but if I film it, great. If not, I'll let you know what happens. Okay, here we are in my Audi. This is obviously just to test the speedo part actually works. I'm not concerned with anything else, I already know that works. So we've got a battery on the floor there with a mess of wires up to the dashboard, which is just temporarily taped to the car, and an on-off switch here. So, oops, I dropped the switch. What I'm looking for now, if I turn it on, reflected in behind there will be a blue light which shows the GPS receiver's got a signal, and then a red light to show that it's actually fixed on the satellites. So first of all, turn it on, click, dashboard lights up, you can see the blue light flashing. Can we see the red light? There's a red light. So that means that this GPS receiver is now powered up and is seeing some satellites. So when I start driving, it should start registering a speed. So turn the car on. Now I'll have to be careful here. I am at the unit, so I'm not actually on the road, but hopefully it should start receiving enough signal to work out a speed. So here we go. Look at that. Beautiful, it's working. Excellent. Right, we'll just turn around here and go back. Slow down. See, there we are. Look at that, that's magnificent. Turn around. back up to the unit. Well, it's reading about 15. Car's doing 15. Dash is reading 15. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Right, excellent stuff. I'll just park up. Wonder if it'll read going backwards. Reversing backwards. No, well, it is reading, but it's not reading minus, it's just reading 1. There we are. I'll just park up in front of the unit and then we'll bring this video to a close. Brilliant. Right, I'm so pleased with that. Okay, so that's the dashboard all tested, proven to be working. Obviously all these aren't reading anything because it's not connected to the actual car it's going to be used in. So I need to make a mount, put it in the car. I need to do some other things to the car as well, so that's going to be the subject of another video. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you like it, click the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon and all that kind of stuff. It all helps YouTube determine that I'm a really good channel and people need to see this stuff. So yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.